Hi, this is Privateer Station, and today we are bringing you day 307 of Russian invasion into Ukraine. As always, with Olexiy Arestovych, advisor to the Office of the President of Ukraine, and Mark Feygin, Russian opposition politician. Enjoy. Greetings to you all on Feigin Live. It is Tuesday, December 28th. Time is 2 minutes past 10 in Kiev, 2 minutes past 11 in Moscow. And we're doing another day 307 with Olexiy Arestovich. Good evening, Olexiy. About 76,000 are watching us live, 15,000 click the like button. Please continue sharing likes and links to that stream, and do not forget to subscribe to Feigin Live, to Olexiy Arestovich, and to the Privateer Station if you are listening or watching that in English language. Let's start as usual with the situation on the fronts. Tell us what are the main things happening. Just recently, about an hour ago, Russian troops managed to hit the birthing hospital in Kherson. There were people there. It was preliminary lucky enough that nobody actually got wounded or killed right in the delivery ward, actually. And I don't know, they were probably looking for HIMARS, and our troops keep attacking their capabilities there in Kherson area as well. As far as I know, there are 2 really good hits today on their targets. There are very active fights still going on in Bakhmut, Solidar. It's a bloody grinder. Situation is rather hard, but stable and is being controlled. Near Bakhmut, according to some Russian posts, Ukraine troops are still successful in pushing Russians back. But the main area where they're pushing through, or trying to, is not even Bakhmut itself, but the area between Bakhmut and Solidar. And despite the fighting raging daily, they're still withdrawing a little bit and regrouping there. And we go up north, Belgorodka, Kremenная, and Svadovo. That's what's called local tactical skirmishes. Those posts that we saw yesterday, we discussed yesterday that Ukrainian troops are already near Kremenная and are capturing everybody there. They're not panning out to be true, but we're still pushing through, we're still getting close to Kremenная. And of course, they continue shelling of Kharkov and other cities in Ukraine. That's in brief. All right, Olexiy, thank you. Let's continue on. From Moscow, there were some messages about rings. You probably saw that post. So I do want to tell everybody that Putin actually gave rings to his comrades. And these are not dick rings, they are finger rings, and they are not exactly probably functioning in the nether areas, but by the way, they're also usual rings. They're not that scary rings as some people have been posting. What do you think, Olexiy? Well, finally I can say that Russian Federation's leadership is working on the things that they can. When their military operations fail, they need rings. They need rings of power. Olexiy, you with us? The connection broke up a little. Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, you disappeared for a brief moment there. He's on the road, so... Oh yeah, I'm saying finally they did something real in the 10 months of this fantastic war on their side. Instead of doing some stupid things like organizing offense and defense maneuvers. They're finally getting to the real measures because everything else is not really working. So now they're working on creating those magical rings. So you think we should be looking into some special occult meaning behind that? Oh, not even a doubt, a shadow of a doubt. Just like the classic road. 9 for the mortal man doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. Well, finally they stopped doing sci-fi planning about capturing of Ukraine, destruction of Ukrainian military. Now they're back to the real deal, magic powers. Yeah, with these rings, that was a hilarious post. Okay, another news, Olexiy. We hear that United States approved 2 more NASAMS systems with ammo for Ukraine, and Italy is also planning to supply more military resources to Ukraine as well. So, yeah, Italian leader, charming lady, she was talking to Zelensky indeed, and according to press release, they are considering a transfer of additional air defense systems. Well, it's curious, Olexiy, right, that she was seen as opposition to Draghi, and they were opponents. There are some groups in her group that were supportive of Moscow to a degree. Mark, those pro-Moscow figures are a minority. So she is a Euro-Atlantic politician, and she is a conservative. This is a good Republican mix that in Italy leads her to understand that Uncle Putin needs to be stopped. He is a threat to Europe, and he is a threat to Ukraine, and Ukraine needs help. And the first thing, upon getting power, her cabinet reached out to Ukraine and reaffirmed their dedication to support Ukraine, that Italy still stands with Ukraine and will continue support against Putin's invasion. All right, good. We have about 300,000 watching us, Olexiy, now. And there are different prognoses coming up. So one of them is from BBC, and they give 5 different options for the situation. Number 1 is Ukraine may recapture all territory in 2023, and they'll get to Azov Sea, get back Crimea, Russia will capitulate. Second scenario, Russia might start another counteroffensive. Third, military activities will slow down. By the end of 23, Crimea will be fully controlled by Ukraine. 4, both sides will be fighting, and Ukraine will be trying to bring back Melitopol and Lugansk regions, and Russia will be concentrating in Donbass. And 5th option is when both sides slowly grind to a standstill. So this is almost a complete list of different eventualities. Any ideas, or how do you comment on that, Olexiy? I think all of these scenarios will be realized at the same time. It's difficult to predict which one exactly and to what degree will prevail. There are too many things changing on the front, but to a degree each of them will be realized. Understandably, we'll be continuing our efforts to liberate our territory, but will they continue their offensive? When that will happen, will they be able to aggregate another 300,000 troops? These are still open questions. We can say that we consider all these variants, and we seriously consider these possibilities of the second and third waves and other offensive operations by Russia. So we have more motivation, we are armed better, with better weapons than Russians are right now. We have guaranteed support, so the front is open for us to work. Okay, great. Thank you, Alexei. Next one is Urban again. He just doesn't cease. He says that Ukraine will continue fighting as long as United States are pouring money and weapons into Ukraine. The whole tirade was longer, but he is still continuing to bring it around that to the point where at any moment the support may run out, and that's why Ukraine needs to sit down and negotiate with Russia. What are we going to do with Orban? Alexei. I think, Mark, it's a completely clear Kremlin narrative. It is a geopolitical statement saying that Ukraine is the hammer of United States in defeating Putin and establishing the West's geopolitical goals. With that rhetoric, anti-NATO, anti-Europe rhetoric, actually, the only saving grace for Hungary is that over 50% of population are against his statements. So we can say it is literally his regime that is posting that. Our Ministry of Foreign Affairs reacted to that. If Orban wants peace so much, he can use his influence on Putin to bring peace. And we also posted questions through our Ministry of Foreign Affairs how such an independent person can demonstrate so much pro-Kremlin support. I suspect Alexei, he is very strongly motivated. Oh yeah, that's obvious, and there are different rumors about his earlier connections with Moscow power groups, but that's so far just rumors, not proved in court yet. All right, Alexei. Property of Russian oligarch Olexiy Usmanov was arrested for a total amount of 2 billion hryvnias in ports of Ukraine. They discovered different ore products that was attempted to be smuggled to Russian Federation. I have questions. How the heck, after 300 days of war, this oligarch still has property in Ukraine? Well, Mark, Ukraine is a big country. There are many things that can fit here. As we're busy fighting the war, but as we get our hands to reach certain other aspects, we finally get there and we start stopping them. I am not running police systems of Ukraine, so I have no say of my own there, but I can say, well, at least they got it. That's good. And there should be confiscations like that. And the way why this property lasted for so long could be different ways, different options. One of that could be under guise of other persons, other companies. We are a country with legal system. We cannot just go and grab these properties. We need to prove that they are indeed owned or linked directly to Oleksiy Usmanov, and maybe that was happening. All right, Alexei, thank you. The other note in the news was that Putin is stopping oil supplies to the countries who support price corridor. What can you say about that? Well, Putin is a real acrobat here. He managed to both cut the branch that he was sitting on and also shoot himself in the foot. Alexei, I would say he shot himself in the other body part. Right, Mark, but Moscow is basically stopping sales to those whom they sold it before. Where will they put it? They need to conserve the plants. They need to conserve the support then, and then this is a very difficult technological process. Very often after you shut down the pump, you can never reopen it again. So the consequences for Russian budget that were already being rather sensitive, they will be coming to them much faster. And I think even by February, they'll start feeling it deeper. And probably step by summer, they will get to what is called, excuse my verbiage, complete shit show. And here I was gifted an interesting sticker, which I think can be appended to this prognosis, mid-range prognosis, I think. Do you see that? Yeah, I see he is in a coffin, right? Alexei? Yeah, that's exactly where he is, and he's got two kinds of flowers, blue and yellow, and a hole in his forehead, and there is this verbiage over it saying death to the enemies. After the statements about oil, that can pretty much be concluded with gifting these stickers at the end. Because he has to show some economic data, some economic growth, and you need to fight to make sure your TV is overpowering the refrigerator, and people are supporting what you're saying. Instead, you're making a statement, let's remove 2/3 of income into federal budget, and then we'll be living a much better life. I remember there was another country in that area that used to be a bit stronger than today's Russia, and it was called Soviet Union. How long did it live after the oil market collapsed? Right, Alexei, it was pretty quick. Exactly. I think that is a definite probability in this case. All right, we've been 16 minutes live. Beerbog excluded the possibility of normal relations between Europe and Russia, and Europe needs to continue adding more sanctions and continue pressing Putin's regime to stop this war and withdraw, continues the head of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Germany in her interview to DG24 channel. We understand that we, of course, would love to have Russia that is no threat to the enemies and that is cooperative with us, but we also understand that we right now living in a different reality where Russia is nothing, none of these things. And look, Alexei, so she was pretty smart, I think, from the beginning. She took that position and she's continuously. Overall, that narrative coming from Germany is basically mainstream in Europe these days, right? At least in European Union. Yes, Mark. Germany is demonstrating political leadership in European Union. And I think an important factor of that leadership is calling things what they are. That's number one, because the task of each leader, from opinion leader to political leader, is to bring those who are listening to him to reality. That was back in the day formulated by Confucius. The main task of a leader, back in the day he used a different word for that, but the task is to bring his people to reality. And Germany, after so many years of self-destructing illusion, is finally getting to that reality. And not only Germany, tomorrow Ministry of Defense of France is going to visit Kiev, and I hope they'll be bringing something good with them. And I want to say that they are speeding up their support. European military industry is slowly waking up, and they're revving their production from retirement where it was peacefully resting. It's not an easy task, but the giant is awakening. And we can see supplies coming at a bit higher pace already. And another thing is also budget year, fiscal year, because budgets are usually agreed in the end of the fiscal year and adopted at that time. And this year they were giving basically what they could within the already established framework in the emergency mode. But for the next year, they already have adopted certain decisions. And Germans already counted they gave us up to 3 billion euros worth of munitions. And I need to remind that Germany actually gave us a system Arestovych, which is not even in service in Germany full scale. And they went ahead and gave it to Ukraine. You can only welcome these dramatic changes happening in Europe to the better. And remember how many conversations we had, including myself, trying to push on Europe and say that they are really sleeping in a lethargic sleep and they need to wake up. It's nice to see them waking up. It is very good. And if Ukraine is to go and join European Union, it would be better this kind of European Union that is they're turning into right now. than the one that existed before the war. This is a more realistic country with realistic estimations of Putin and his influence. Another important question is what will they do with Putin after victory? But it depends upon whether he stays in power or not, because the first attempt, the first thing, Russian Federation, if his regime stays in some capacity, Russian Federation will start preparing for the rematch, including, by the way, technologies supplied by the West. By the way, the West bureaucracy is finally understanding that, and they've been talking about it too, on the level of European Commissar and their Ministry of Foreign Politics, which is good. They are the ones drawing the contour of their political position on this question. So to a degree, it is a representation of collective opinion that Putin's regime is definitely a threat. But EU is moving forward so fast that in their actions and in their rhetoric, they're already taking over the United States. This is the second powerful pillar of support that Ukraine has. Imagine some hypothetical changes or fluctuations with one or the other columns. It's nice when you have at least a couple options. So if one is wavering, the other is strong. Plus, there are other groups, there are other countries that are not European, like Japan, which also reaffirm their support to Ukraine and giving us additional tools and equipment. They're also reviewing their military doctrine. They're increasing their percentage of spending for defense systems. They highlighted their enemies in their new doctrine. They reaffirmed that China and North Korea are hostile nations. They're not calling them enemies, but they're definitely highlighting that they have arguments with these neighbors. And they also, given that Russian Federation is also an aggressor, they're not calling them enemy as well, but the way it's presented, that's definitely outlining their attitude to Russia. Strengthening Japanese and Indian relations, and the concept of Five Eyes in the Southeast Asia, basically monitoring the situation there for additional security to New Zealand and Australia. Japan is a definite part of that effort. And if we are talking about 23, if we're talking about prognosis, we'll hear about changes there in that part of the world as well. I should remind our viewers that yesterday was one of the biggest invasion into the airspace of Taiwan. And in Taiwan itself, on the recent elections, Kuomintang party had won, which is a somewhat middle of the road. They are talking about one country, two systems, similar to Hong Kong being officially part of China, but with a separate status. So that thought is out there, but we'll see how it will evolve and what will happen. In any case, the United States is also supportive of Ukraine. They signed 44 billion of different kinds of support to us. 18 of them, 18 more billion from the European Union, and that's a mix of both military and financial support. So if that happens, I think at the very least we will not face economic default here in Ukraine, regardless of war raging on the eastern side. We can dedicate ourselves to better fighting and not be scrambling to plug every economic hole, because, of course, our economy is suffering because of war, because of blackouts, and at least right now we know that we are not facing financial collapse. And even international agency, one of them gave a prognosis for us of 1% growth of our economy. I don't know how we will be able to provide for that. What did they calculate into it? Perhaps agriculture. That is being promoted by the initiative of the president, the anti-hunger program that Ukraine is actively supporting. We'll see. That's an interesting observation, though. And There'll be another summit at the end of February, which I think is tied to 1 year of war, and there may be bigger offers for global security during that summit, suggested to discuss. We'll reach the anniversary, so-called, of this war with interesting propositions, and I think our friends are still going to be strong. All right, 323,000 watching us live, 88,000 click the like button, and we've been live for 25 minutes plus. Another topic, Peskov, spokesperson for Putin, called a provocative statement made by Yerevan about Russia pushing and meddling in their relations. Earlier, Armen Grigoryan announced in the television of the Republic that invasion of Azerbaijan in September into the sovereign territory of the country of Armenia is additional pressure onto Yerevan, which is also supported by Russia, and the responsibility for Azerbaijan invasion into that corridor, Alachin's corridor, is fully on the shoulders of Russia. And he highlighted that Armenia will remain a sovereign nation and Russia with Azerbaijan are violating its sovereignty. So he's voicing a thesis of impossibility of long-term cooperation with Moscow, because objectively Moscow's main ally is Turkey right now in that area, and Moscow is trying to provide additional pressure into Armenia in order to bring it together with Belarus into some form of a joint country. Basically, if Russia is on fire, let these two burn together. And it appears that Russia doesn't really hide anything anymore, right? So it comes out, Olexiy. What can you say? Well, Mark, Armenia is having much less to lose with every passing year. And it's hard for me to find a different example like that when Russia put Armenia into complete dependency upon its aid and upon its military from Russia, and Armenia was didn't want to negotiate much with Georgia, Turkey, and Azerbaijan on different things. They wanted to be all by itself, but Russia used that to make them very dependent on everything. And then after that, Russia went ahead and signed treaties with Georgia, Azerbaijan, and Turkey. And Armenia was hoping that Russia will come and send peacekeepers, and Russia instead did not aid them during that conflict, and will continuing the pressure. So people are also commenting that Pashinyan had a very sharp conversation with Putin on that other summit they had, and he actually accused Putin of not fulfilling the duties that their peacekeepers were supposed to be carrying out in that territory that was invaded by Azerbaijan. And basically they're now coming to realize that that Karabakh clan that they allowed to come to power, that was completely corrupt and related with Putin's oligarchs, they allowed that clan, that party of war in Armenia, to dominate for a while, and they refused to negotiate with their neighbors, and now they're suffering consequences. Now they need to find a way to do something about that and to react to Russia's position. There are some rumors that he allegedly threatened to leave the Mutual Security Organization, and then they'll have to answer other questions in Armenia, what to do with Turkey, with Azerbaijan and Georgia. And I have outlined it earlier that the best option for Armenia is to find it within themselves, find that position to negotiate with their neighbors. And the neighbors are still somewhat open to negotiations, and actually their conditions were not too bad for Armenia. It's the East, and their politics are interesting, but there's definitely a way for them to come out of this situation winning if they follow their rational interests as the country, as the Armenian people. And of course, it is an ex-USSR country, which is prone to all the failures of ex-USSR entities with corrupt government and systems. But I believe they are wise enough to make proper decisions under this current very difficult situation. But they can that is highlighting them who is their real partner, who can be a real partner, and who is just a criminal who is going for their own agendas, who would not fret to affect the destiny of the whole peoples just for their own political gains or territorial gains. So Armenian people do need to make the decision now, and I hope they find it within themselves to make the right decision, make the right choice. All right, thank you, Olexiy. We have about 400,000 watching us. We've been live for half an hour. Let's go to our pretty regular topic. And this is the next statement. European Parliament will not approve Georgian request to join European Union in any capacity if Mikhail Saakashvili, the ex-Georgian president, will die in prison. So this guy is a conservative who is making a statement. He is not liberal, but it's a serious statement, and this is a consequence of different events, including our initiative that on the 4th of January we're asking, starting at noon, to come out, and I'll repeat that if you missed it in our earlier streams. Those of you who live in different countries of the world, come out to the embassies of Georgia, wherever they exist. Mostly it's in capitals, or if in bigger cities there are some embassies. This is being discussed widely. I'm watching Georgian press and I have some friends calling and reporting about that. I'm sorry, I'm still recovering from that flu. There is cough going on, so I'm limited to my interviewing capacities and discussing that. But it is somewhat a very active discussion going on, and we hope, and it looks like it's going in the right direction. I expect there will be enough pressure on the Georgian authorities to basically make them face a choice. It's either Saakashvili or European Union. And what would you say, Olexiy? Well, I would say that this is a very serious statement. There are values behind the statement, and I can say that definitely looking at the actions of the modern Georgian leadership from the point of view of European government and European citizens, they're not really partaking, they're not really expressing the same values as European Union, because conscious murder of a prisoner by torture, essentially, because forcing a person to partake in a criminal prosecution in his current medical condition, that this can be qualified as torture. This is basically a slow finishing of Saakashvili in prison. That's what they're doing. And everybody understands that. And official statements have not been made, but Deputy of European Parliament, that's a high enough figure, and they already start to come out with these statements. I think he knew what he was saying. I think he was expressing, to a degree, a collective opinion that basically states that destroying and assuring the murder and death of and sooner demise of a person in prison, when you can give proper medical aid and help the person recover, if you want to prosecute him before going that way, around the prosecution, this is not an acceptable practice for European Union. And Europe is looking at that and saying that, well, you cannot be violating our values and still be aspiring to join the EU. And that estimate, I'm glad it's finally being made vocal, it's coming out. All right, so 4th of January, we call upon our viewers and all different ethnicities and countries, everybody, yes, Mark, just calling upon all the normal people, all the good people in all the countries of the world. Please come out to Georgian embassies in other countries and help us provide, let's aid in providing additional pressure, political pressure, onto their leadership. Everything, please stay within the framework of what is legally allowed, and we're not giving you any advice here. You know your situation. There are a lot of enthusiastic people who will come out and do that the way they see fit. We're just giving you, you don't need me and Arestovych for that. We're just providing additional information and coordination in that effort. Go ahead, guys and gals, do communicate, arrange how to do that, but please come out and support Mikhail Saakashvili and please help us to provide that pressure. We also turn to the president of Georgia and once again say, sir, you have enough power to stop that today. You have enough power to put everything on pause and change that situation. And she's the citizen of France, right? That person who made a statement, right? Yeah, oh yeah. And so, dear President of Georgia, it is within your reach to look at that situation, reconsider it, understand the human rights that are being trampled here. And there is also another perspective to suffer a serious legal prosecution by international court after this event. So if you continue the road to killing of ex-Georgian president in prison. All right. That's it for today. Thank you, everybody who joined us. We're having a stream tomorrow, right? Yes, of course. So we'll see you tomorrow, and I hope I'll feel better. Goodbye, everybody. Olexiy, see you. Bye.